also get quite a lot of complaints from people who just write us an email and just say, I think the Daily Mail is crap, or something like that. And of course we can't really do anything about that. So we'll always ask people, well, you know, what actually is your complaint about it? But a lot of people don't respond. So when you cut out all of that rubbish, stuff that falls outside our jurisdiction, you're probably left with just under 2,000 complaints last year that actually kind of engaged our code and contained enough information for us to take forward. And frankly, most of those still actually don't raise a breach of our code. They don't break the rules. So with those complaints, the Commission will receive a recommendation from us explaining why we don't think the rules have been broken. And assuming they agree, then the decision will be sent to the newspaper and the complainant, and that's kind of an end of it. But, of course, there are several hundred a year, probably about 600-700, where the rules, on the face of it, do seem to be broken. And you know, those are the cases which actually, of course, we have to investigate. And we'll do that by writing to the editor, really to say, look, we've had a complaint. It looks possible that you've broken the rules. What's your explanation? Sometimes they'll tell us later information that we didn't have already, and we'll realise that actually the complaint is wrong. But other times, quite often, they'll say, well, actually, yeah, you know, we have made a mistake here, and they will offer to put it right, either by maybe a published apology or correction, maybe some sort of undertaking about how they'll do things in the future. Sometimes money, not very often, because genuinely we don't get into financial compensation. I mean, that's something that, you know, if you think you've been liable, for example, you sue somebody through the courts. But there are some occasions when newspapers, in order just to kind of settle something and have it not go any further, they will offer monetary recompense. So there's a whole variety of things that we can achieve for people that will settle their complaints, and that's really our main goal, to try and really get people what they want to amicably sort something out. Because, you know, really, it's much better if we can resolve the dispute in a sort of non-confrontational way and have it rumble on and on and on. When that doesn't happen, then the Commission will make a formal ruling on the case. So in about 25-30 cases a year, where the newspaper is not able to settle something, settle a complaint, the Commission will rule against it. And when that happens, the newspaper is obliged to publish whatever we say about it. So it will have to publish, perhaps, you know, if it's just a minor complaint, maybe a few paragraphs. If it's a major breach of the code of practice, they may end up having to run a whole page, essentially of us slagging them off. Now, clearly that is not something they like to do, and that's why I think it is an effective punishment. I mean, after all, editors tend to have really big egos, and their job is to decide what to put in their paper. So if we're telling them, well, actually, tough luck, you've got to put this on page 5, it's actually quite a dent to their position. So there is an argument that at the moment, more of these little kind of errors are creeping in, and time will tell whether that actually proves to be important. So the Commission are 17 individuals who ultimately decide.
Why do newspapers put up with the Press Complaints Commission? Mm-hmm. And number two, what would happen if a newspaper, you ruled against a newspaper, and a newspaper simply said, no, yeah, I disagree completely, and I will not run that in the newspaper?
Well, the reason that newspapers accept PCC is that they know that if we were not here, there would be something else. You know, there is no way if the PCC just closed down tomorrow, the government would be happy to say, okay, fine, well, actually there'll be no regulation of newspapers at all. And therefore, the government would have to set up something else, as it kind of threatened to do at the end of the 1980s. So basically, newspapers don't like us a lot of the time, but we are kind of better than what the alternative might be. I mean, it's very much a case of better the W know than the W don't, I think. And you know, in terms of what would happen if a newspaper just turned around and, like that girl, gave us a finger, well, basically it's never happened. And the reason it's never happened is because newspapers want us to keep going, however much they don't like us at times. If it did happen, well, I mean, if it was a major newspaper that just suddenly refused to publish our ruling or pulled out the system, then if there was no way of it coming back in, it would be hard to see how the system could survive.